At the foot of a heavily forested mountain sat a village, its quaint homes nestled together like a cozy family. The mountain, tall and majestic, kept its snow-capped peaks year-round, a quiet sentinel over the peaceful lives of the villagers below. They lived simple, contented lives, farming and caring for their animals. Most of them were content to stay within the village, rarely venturing into the thick, wild forest that cradled their town. The forest was lush, full of vibrant vegetation, and crisscrossed by shining brooks and streams. It was a haven for many wild animals, but these creatures never disturbed the people. It was as if an unspoken pact existed between them. Each respected the other's space. In this beautiful mountain village lived a very special girl, known to all as Little Red. She got her name from the bright red cloak she always wore, a gift from her beloved grandmother. The cloak, a bit too big for her, was soft, warm, and filled her with joy. She loved the rich color, the gentle feel of the wool, and the way it made her feel protected, no matter where she went. When autumn arrived and the snow began to blanket the mountain, Little Red would pull the hood over her head and wander the village and the forest, feeling safe and invincible in her red woolen cloak. The wind could blow, the trees could sway, but she felt shielded by her cloak and by the love of her grandmother who had given it to her. Her grandmother, her favorite person in the world, lived deep in the forest in a lovely cottage that she had built herself with the help of a local woodcutter. The cottage was small but cheerful, with a bright pink exterior and a lively garden in front. Granny grew her favorite flowers: lilacs, tulips, roses, and daisies. She also cultivated herbs and medicinal plants like aloe, rosemary, and witch hazel. The backyard was even more beautiful, with a big vegetable patch full of pumpkins, squash, eggplant, and more. Nearby, a stream wound its way through the forest, its clear waters nourishing the land. Granny loved to sit outside, knitting or preparing vegetables for her meals, surrounded by the peaceful sounds of nature, the birds singing, the rustle of leaves, and the gentle burble of the stream. Little Red loved visiting her grandmother, spending hours in the garden and learning about plants. Every time she visited, her mother would pack a basket full of treats to take with her. There were always loaves of fresh, warm bread, sweet tea cakes, and delicious homemade pastries. Little Red could hardly wait to see Granny, and on that day, she woke up full of excitement. After breakfast, Little Red's mother packed the basket with fresh bread, sesame, onion, multigrain, and wheat loaves, and tucked in a few sweet tea cakes. With the basket in hand, Little Red donned her red cloak, gave her mother a big hug, and skipped out the door, eager for her journey. The forest path was close to her home, and though many villagers avoided the forest, Little Red felt at ease. She walked through the woods, noticing the changes in the trees as she ascended the mountain. Pine trees replaced birch, and the scent of damp leaves filled the air. The trees seemed to greet her, guiding her toward Granny's house. As Little Red neared the cottage, she caught sight of a thin wisp of smoke rising from a clearing, accompanied by a savory aroma. Granny must be cooking something delicious, she thought, smiling widely. She picked up the pace, eager to see what awaited her. When she reached the gate, the door to the cottage opened, and out stepped Granny, wearing her favorite crimson apron. They embraced warmly, but just as Little Red was about to tell Granny about her walk, her eyes caught a surprising sight. Curled up by the fire, there was a big, shaggy gray wolf, sleeping peacefully. Little Red stared, amazed. How could Granny be so calm with a wolf inside her home? But Granny simply smiled and beckoned Little Red to come inside, introducing the wolf as her new friend. Little Red was skeptical. Could it really be a pet? She approached the wolf cautiously. Up close, she realized it was indeed a wolf, massive and beautiful, with thick gray fur speckled with white. His eyes remained closed, and he swished his tail in his sleep, but there was no sign of danger. Granny, sitting on the couch across from the wolf, began to tell Little Red the story of how they became friends. A few days ago, while working in her garden, Granny had heard a faint howling sound from the forest. Concerned, she ventured toward the stream and found the injured wolf. With the help of the woodcutter, she brought him back to the cottage, tended to his injury, and left him food. That night, the wolf returned to Granny's door, hungry and needing shelter. He walked right into the cottage, and from that moment on, he had stayed. He followed Granny around the house, keeping her company while she gardened and cooked. He was gentle, and Granny appreciated the company.